Air Canada miles used to expire, and then they didn't. But now, they're going to start expiring again, based on some recent changes to the Aeroplan program. So, here are some more intermediate to advanced tactics that I like to use to find deals on Air Canada so you can book some great deals before your points expire. Recently, the news came out that if you have some Air Canada Aeroplan points, they will start expiring again. You have a little bit of time before you have to worry about this because the expiration policy doesn't really start until November 30th, 2026, but given that it is November 2025, it is actually a really good time to start planning how to use your points over the next year. So with Air Canada, I like to use seats.aero, and what I would recommend doing is either clicking on Explore and then click on Air Canada here, or click on the search tab and then select USA over to the region that you want to travel to, pick a departure date and then plus or minus the date range that you are willing to fly in. So here I entered USA over to the Middle East, October next year plus or minus 28 days, so this would be September or October 2026. I've also added in a few of the pro filters, such as I don't want to pay fees more than $600 per person, I want flights that have at least 2 seats available, and I don't want to fly Egypt Air or Air India, and I want to do this in business or first class. Down here, I've also filtered down programs over to Air Canada Aeroplan. And I like doing this on the search feature a little bit more because when you just search on the Explore page and then click on North America, it's going to include a ton of Canadian airports, which oftentimes I like to filter out of my results. So back to this search tab. Once we have our filters set up like this, then we'll go ahead and click on search. Then we will sort by business class lowest, and we can see that there are a few different deals between Boston and Abu Dhabi, and really a lot of cities in Abu Dhabi, but they're very expensive at more than 200,000 points. So I'd also like to type in this points filter where I say I don't want to spend more than, let's say, 120,000 points per person one way. And so here we can see a lot of different deals between Boston and Abu Dhabi or Atlanta and Abu Dhabi for about 90,000 points. These are operated by Turkish Airlines, where it connects Boston through Istanbul into Abu Dhabi, and it's 90,000 points plus about $92 Canadian per person one way, but that one disappeared right in front of my eyes. So let's try another one of these. Atlanta over to Abu Dhabi on October 5th. So if we search Air Canada for Boston to Abu Dhabi October 5th for one adult, and then go ahead and click on find, then we'll sort by business class lowest, but we'll see that that flight doesn't actually exist over here. So always good to double check with the airline's actual website versus just trusting what you're seeing on seats.aero. And it looks like that one disappeared right before my eyes as well. So let's check one of these, either the 8th or the 18th. We're gonna check October 8th. That one also does not appear to be available in business class. So let's try October 18. And here we do see that business class flight available where there's 2 seats left from Boston routing through Istanbul into Abu Dhabi. And let's say you don't wanna go into Abu Dhabi, but you like going through Istanbul, you can just say, let's fly to Istanbul, Turkey instead, and refresh the flight that way. And if it's going through Istanbul into Abu Dhabi, you're very likely to be able to find flights into Istanbul as well, or maybe even airports around there, like going to Serbia or Greece, and it will be a little bit cheaper. So here it's 70,000 miles if you just wanted to do the Boston to Istanbul leg, or let's try Boston to Athens and see if they can do that. And we are able to do that as well, where it flies from Boston through Istanbul into Athens, and it's 70,000 points. So that's how you can start on seats.aero for searching for flights on Air Canada, where it says Boston over to Abu Dhabi for 90,000. But really, we can do a couple of experiments and see that we can actually find Boston to Athens on October 18th. Because if you wanted to go over to Athens, that may or may not show up specifically. Let's check this. If we wanted to search Air Canada from North America over to Europe and say that we wanted to do this in October and we wanted to fly into Athens, that result actually doesn't show up specifically on seats.aero, where there's the Boston to Athens route. If you were to search for this exact day and say, what flights are there from North America over to Europe flying into Athens using Air Canada, it doesn't show up on the seats.aero results, which is why you can use this seats.aero tool as a starting point. But keep in mind, if you want to find the really good deals, you will have to search manually a little bit on your own. So we're going to dive into some more examples for how to do that. If you have a particular trip that you are looking to book on points, you can request a free personalized tutorial by going to geobreezetravel.com/request. We prepare one free tutorial every week through our free newsletter, so make sure you check out our newsletter every Monday to see if your request was picked and prepared. Also, if this tutorial is a bit too technical, we also have a tutorial on the basics of searching with Air Canada here as well. If you do prefer to use the Explore feature where it shows all Air Canada deals at the same time, here's how I usually set up my filters. So what you'll do is show flights from your region, which I'm assuming is North America, over to the region you want to travel to. So in this example, we're going to use Asia. And then I like to filter based off of airlines that I'm interested in exploring. So maybe Thai, Singapore, PAL is on this list, even though I've not seen any deals with them. EVA is on here, Cathay, Emirates, and ANA. And what you'll find is there are so many more deals available if you are willing to position either Canada or Mexico. Like here, there are a ton of different dates where you can fly between Mexico and Narita, which is an airport in Tokyo. It's 75,000 points plus about 150 Canadian per person one way, and that is a really good deal. I tested out one of these on July 24th, and I am able to see the availability on Air Canada, but something to note is that there is just one seat on a lot of these dates. So whenever you see people who are in ANA all the time, there's a good chance that they are solo traveling, because as I hover over all of these Mexico and Narita ones, it's just one. But here is one where it shows Los Angeles over to Taipei. There's 3 seats in EVA, which is pretty unheard of, but it is tomorrow. I'm recording this on 11/11. This is on November 12. And so sometimes you find some last minute deals here as well. If you want to search for a particular month, like let's say you want to travel in the spring of 2026, I would adjust that in the search bar like this, where you type in 2026-04. And here it looks like there's one on April 9 from Vancouver over to Manila with a variety of different airlines. And so with business class, it's direct on Air Canada, but that's pretty expensive. Or you can fly through Air India for 87.5 thousand miles. That is a 45-hour journey because there are 2 stops and it is a 24-hour layover in India. This icon means it is a not completely lay flat recline bed, so I don't think I would be interested in flying that one, but there are a variety of other airlines you can fly as well. Something I don't like about this interface is even though I have not selected Air India as one of the airlines I'm willing to travel, it's still caught up in the results. Like here from JFK over to Singapore, it says 87.5 thousand miles. I'd love to fly that in Singapore, but it doesn't actually have Singapore Airlines here. The Singapore Airlines one is in economy, or I'm not sure why it's showing up here, but these are still all Air India results. So with Seats.aero, it's always important to click this little gray eye on the side and learn a little bit more about the itinerary that you are going to be booking, where it has multiple stops, or costs a certain number of points, or it's operated by a particular airline, which you can find by hovering right here. In addition to dates, you can just type in the IATA code into the search feature as well. So if we wanted to fly Cathay Pacific, we would just type CX into the search bar, and this shows a bunch of different flights between Vancouver and Manila, where it's operated by some airlines, hopefully including Cathay. But once again, when we click on the business class deal, this is just Air Canada or Air India, so that is not actually what I am looking to do. So as you explore different deals on Air Canada to try to figure out best ways that you want to use your miles, always click on this eye. Even when I find this flight over to Hong Kong, it's still going through Air India. And these are some different ways that you can filter down the results so that you're not like, oh my God, there's a deal over to Manila, I bet it's in PAL. It might not be. So it's great to learn how to use these different filters, because Seats.aero can get a little bit more advanced with how they query different things. And even once you dig into a little bit more of the information provided on Seats.aero, always good to double check your flights with Air Canada as well. Our last tutorial covers how to set up stopovers using Air Canada so you can see multiple cities on one trip. However, the setup is not as intuitive as you would think. And if you're interested in leveling up your points and miles game and getting even more free trips and upgrades, we have a couple of options for you. The first one is the GeoBreeze Travel Patreon, which you can join starting at just $5 per month through patreon.com/GeoBreezeTravel. Every month, we prepare personalized step-by-step tutorials for the routes that our members request. We also provide open forum group coaching, where you can ask any questions that you have about points, miles, and credit cards in general. We also talk through some of the tips and tricks that I don't really share on social media. And if you're looking to get even more free travel with your points, and you're a business owner or individual who spends more than $100,000 per year on your expenses, we typically save our clients more than $30,000 in travel in the first 6 months of working with our one-on-one client services team. If that sounds like something that you would be interested in, book a free intro chat with us at geobreezetravel.com/intro call to learn more. Okay, now let's talk about how to set up searches for stopovers with Aeroplan. Alright, this final tutorial is about how to do stopovers with Air Canada's stopover program because it is not intuitive. So let's say you want to do a stopover in Europe where you search seats.aero from North America to Europe, you want to search from LAX. The first page is going to give you is a bunch of direct flights. That's how you know it's direct, is if it's in green. What I would do here is scroll over to page 3 or 4 once the color of the cells start turning blue. That's how you know there's a connection, and those connections are probably the best places to start looking for stopovers. Like for example here, there are a lot of flights between Los Angeles and Zurich, and if we click on more information, a lot of them will stop in Frankfurt because they're operated by Lufthansa. I think all of these are going to be Lufthansa flights. So here's one at the end of the year where it goes Los Angeles through Frankfurt into Zurich for 70,000 points plus 142 Canadian. So let's say you're like, oh, I'd like to go Los Angeles to Frankfurt, spend a couple of days in Frankfurt, and then continue on to Zurich. It should be 75,000 points total. Here's how most people would intuitively try to do this on Air Canada, which would be the incorrect way. Most people would say they want a multi-city where they would go from Los Angeles over to Frankfurt on December 30th, which is the date that seats.aero shows. And if you want 2 days in Frankfurt, then ideally you would just say, okay, I want my second flight to be Frankfurt over to Zurich 2 days later, which would be January 1st. So then you would click search, and then what you'll see is this 70,000 point flight, but it's not what you're looking for. It's in mixed cabin. It's 86% in business from Ontario, California into Denver, into Frankfurt, and all of these are mixed cabin. So this isn't actually what we're looking for. Instead, here is how you set up a multi-city search with Air Canada. You're going to remove flight 2 completely. You're going to say that you want to fly from Los Angeles over to Zurich on the date shown on seats.aero, which is December 30th. You want to stop over in Frankfurt, and then let's say you want 2 days. This is what you want your screen to look like in order to set up a stopover. So then we'll go ahead and click on search. And then so here, this is what you're looking for. It should be 75,000 points total per person one way, including the stopover, because it would be normally 70,000 points, and then they tack on 5,000 points for the stopover, whether you're doing this in economy or business class. And then this flight only has 1 seat left, but this one has 4 seats left, so you can book each one for 75,000 points plus 182 Canadian dollars. Personally, I always pick lowest reward, where if you have any changes or refunds, it incurs a fee. I would rather do that than pay an extra 15,000 points for the completely refundable flight, because for the extra 15,000 points, it's probably worth at least $300. I think most of the time the changes or the refund fee is going to be less than that. So that is how you set up a 5,000 point stopover using Air Canada. I hope you found those tutorials useful. Let me know what other types of tutorials you would like to see in future videos. And in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, I think you'll enjoy this video next.